Hello there, boys, girls, and those who consider themselves to be rooks. Welcome to another Rasberry chess video. Today's topic is going to be courage. You see, I found in all strong chess players nerves of steel. The willingness to take the bull by the horns and throw him down like he's nothing. Chess players, the good players, they're willing to go for all-in attacks. Do or die type things when they see that their position should be able to withstand something like that, to be able to go for the attack and checkmate their opponent. They also are willing to let their opponent sacrifice and go for an all-out attack against them when they've calculated and understand that they can, in fact, defend their position. They're willing to do that because they have calculated to the best of their ability that their opponent can or cannot defend, or can or cannot attack, and thus they trust themselves. They're willing to go forth into quote-unquote darkness in order to be able to get an advantage or to win the game. This next example here is a great one as far as plunging into the darkness, quote-unquote, and being willing to take the bull by the horns and say, you know what, I don't believe you. I believe I am going to be better after this move, and I want you to prove it, that you can be better, or else I'm just going to be winning. Well, maybe not winning in this case, but definitely better. So here is the question and the position. This is a game, actually, I played in one of my most recent tournaments. The question here is whether or not I can play the move Queen F4, or if I have to castle in this position. I'm black, and my opponent has quite a few different options that he can try to send my way, such as if I play just a random move like A6, I gotta watch out for moves like Rook takes E6. Oh my gosh, he's blowing my king open. What in the world is wrong now? I gotta play King F8, and I'm just dropped a pawn for no reason, because if I take back, and don't do this, guys, Queen takes G6, King E7, Queen F7, King D6. I'm running away, right? Nope, not happening. This is a checkmate. So, not going to happen there. So, I can't just play A6. I have to do something that makes his threat useless, or responds and simply says, you know what, I'm not going to allow it to happen. So yeah, I have two options in this position. I can castle, or I can play Queen F4. If I play Queen F4, this is good for me, if I can play, that is, because this move attacks both the knight on G5 and the pawn on D4. So, if forced, he'll have to play knight to F3, moving that active piece backwards, stopping all sacrificial possibilities. And now I have an active queen. I have a nice target on H2. Oops. I got one click moves. So, I have the H2 pawn, which can definitely be a target. And I think I have all the marbles in this position to play for. But you see, he doesn't have to move his knight back. I had to calculate whether or not he could play knight takes or rook takes E6. And I courageously decided I could do it. I looked at the position and I said, I am going to let him sacrifice. And I knew he would sacrifice. I could see it in his eyes before the move. Before I even moved, I saw he was looking at these sacrifices because the move before he had some opportunities and it didn't work out so well for him. This time he's definitely ready for it. And I said, you know what, go ahead and sacrifice. Blow open my king, get my king to run halfway across the world, but you're not going to mate me. And I'm just going to be up material and win the game. That's what my attitude was here. Was I right? I was, actually. However, I did miscalculate one line. I might have gotten mated had he gone down that line, but we'll get to that in a second. So, in case you're wondering, can he open this position up? If you haven't already, pause your video and ask yourself, can he mate me? Try to calculate whether or not knight takes e6 or rook takes e6 will end in mate. The three lines I would suggest you look at: rook takes e6, f takes e6, queen takes g6. Look at knight takes e6, f takes e6, queen takes g6. And look at knight takes e6, f takes e6, rook takes e6. And if you've done that, good job. All right, so here's the simple answer. None of those lines work for him. Let's play the move knight takes e6, because this is what he played in the game. Might as well do that first. So, of course, I played knight takes, or pawn takes e6 back, because he's forking my queen and rook. I have no choice. And now he's got two options. The move he played was rook takes e6. This is probably the simplest defense for me. I just played king f7, defending g6. He plays rook e1, defending his rook, threatening rook e7. And then, of course, the simplest move, and I think I played the rook from the h file. No, I played the rook from the d file to e8. And his attack is completely withered away. You may be a little nervous here, so, like, you know, okay, my king is completely on an open file. Let's just say move the rook back to f3 and prepare rook e3 and then move the rook to f3. The problem is that's just not going to happen. I have a knight on f6, which is keeping my king very safe. I have two pawns, and I have a rook on the open file, and if he can't do anything, he's going to be forced to trade off all the rooks, and his attack will be completely neutralized. So I said in this position, I'm perfectly fine. Next line, basically. So I looked at pawn takes and then queen takes g6. This is in fact what I thought he would play, and I was calculating the line king e7. Turned out it was losing. I didn't even realize that. The move knight f5 check, which is the move I assumed he would play. Oops, sorry, what am I thinking? No, this is wrong. My bad, guys. The move was king f8, of course. And this is not losing, my bad. I did calculate king f8, because this is actually forced. The g7 pawn is hanging after king e7. And he doesn't really have too many good options, just rook takes e6, and he's got 3 pawns for the piece. He seems like that's, you know, a pretty good deal, but the issue is he doesn't really have any passed pawns, and I'm quite happy to play a position up a piece against no passed pawns. I should have plenty of time to take his material with my extra piece before he gets anything going with his extra pawns. So I'm pretty happy in this position. I'm willing to play for it. It may look very dangerous, but I can play the very simple move queen h6 in this position, attacking the h2 pawn and forcing queen takes g6, and then rook takes h6, sorry. And his attack is completely gone. Let's just play this move like rook e1. And now actually the computer's just saying, man, I'm just completely better in this position. Something like rook h4, attacking the pawn. 92 is computer best, and right now it says I'm basically up a pawn in material. I can attack the rook, I can force everything to go back. And he doesn't really have any very good options here. So this is a position I was aiming for, and I was like, you know what? If you want to sacrifice your knight on e6, do it. Of course, there's also one other sacrifice I had to calculate. This one looked the most dangerous, and actually this was the one I miscalculated. I thought I could just take back, but this was the trick question here. Actually, after rook takes e6, all you need to do is find the simplest move. Okay? White is trying for too much in this position. His position cannot withstand going for an all-out sacrifice, mainly because his rook is out of play on a1, and yeah, that's the main reason, actually. If he had his rook on e1, this would be a completely different story. But at this point, look for the simplest move. His position can't hold up after king f8. And now look, the knight and the rook are hanging. So now something like rook takes. Pawn takes, knight f3 is forced, and I'm just up in exchange for a pawn. I'm happy in this position. I was actually calculating, though, in the position f takes e6, thinking that this position would also be good for me. And I was absolutely right. This position would be great for me. He ran me halfway across the world, but now I'm in a safe spot. Move knight f7 looks like it wins back some material, but after rook e8, he has no more checks. His queen's kind of trapped. He's forced to play the move, believe it or not. Yep, queen f5. Best move according to the computer. Queen takes f5, knight takes f5, and then rook h to f8, and he is just straight down a rook for a few pawns. The computer gives me a 4-pawn advantage in this position. It's completely winning. And so I'm extremely happy. However, take a moment, look for a tactic here. This is a move I overlooked, and had he possibly spotted it, I might have gone down this line. What is the move here, guys? Is it queen takes e6? The answer is surprisingly no. The quiet knight e6 ends my struggle. I have nothing I can do. He's attacking my queen. If my queen moves away from this f5 square, knight to f5 will be checkmate. So I have to play a move like queen g4, and then d5 check, or c5 check, king d5, knight takes d8. Say goodbye to the rook, and say goodbye to your king, as your king just walks closer and closer to White's army. So that is obviously not going to work for me. I did miscalculate that, but, you know, I might have also found rook takes, king f8 in this position. You never know. But my point here in all these 3 lines was the fact that I calculated all of this, and I said my king is going to be safe. I'm good to play queen f4. So going all the way back to the beginning here, can I play queen f4, or do I have to castle? The answer is, I can play queen f4. And I was willing to do that, and if you're willing to make those moves that seem very dangerous, that are kind of scary, I tell you, you're going to have a much easier game. Say, for instance, I just castled in this position. Where's my advantage? I'm just not seeing my advantage here. I mean, it's a solid position. He doesn't have any more sacrifices, so he won't sacrifice. And I'm going to struggle here. Every single one of those lines that I showed you was advantageous for me after queen f4. And so that is why being courageous is so useful, so helpful. You can make moves like that that'll help your position and make sure that every single one of your options, or many more of your options, are good. The more good options you have, the better your position is. It's as straightforward as that. And so I hope you learned something from this video. Make sure that you comment, tell me what you think about this video. Like and subscribe for more great content. And as always, have a great day. Goodbye.